एक खास मेहमान हमारे साथ अब जुड़ चुके हैं जी लर्न स्टूडियो से, जो कि लंदन के लाइव गेस्ट हमारे साथ जुड़ चुके हैं, राज अग्रवाल, जो कि बैंकिंग एनालिस्ट हैं। मिस्टर अग्रवाल, गुड आफ्टरनून टू यू। थैंक्स फॉर जॉइनिंग अस ऑन दिस स्पेशल एडिशन, जब हम बात कर रहे हैं ब्रेक्जिट की। यस, हिस्टोरिक इवेंट हैज हैपेंड टुडे एंड वी वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड फ्रॉम यू दैट व्हाट काइंड ऑफ इम्पैक्ट डू यू सी, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इन द ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम ऑफ दिस हिस्टोरिक इवेंट?
Early.
I think initial Brexit is going to send some jitters across the financial market, but the market will recover and it will recover and economy will stable down. Initial reaction from across the EU also, if you see now, Netherlands has said, one of the politicians from there has said that they also want a referendum. So I think in global perspective, there will be a lot of debates within the EU also, what they want to see their future within the EU or not. But I think it's a win of a democracy within the Britain, because there are different factors which were affecting the referendum and which were hotly debated.
Mr. Agarwal, good afternoon from India, Mumbai. And but definitely, as we are talking about Brexit and a larger event for the world, how is Britain going to address the trade issue on an individual basis? Because earlier it was part of EU. And second question will be, what is the outlook on pound? And it has already dropped by 10%. How do you explain these both situations for us?
First on the trade, I think within the EU, if you really see the small countries like Iceland and even Switzerland, they have their own trade treaties with so many countries. Because of the EU regulations, we couldn't have the trade with so many countries like emerging economies, even like China and India. So in my opinion, the leaving EU now, Britain will negotiate its own trade treaties, even within the different countries. Even there was a news yesterday that from the German Chamber of Commerce, they were wanted to have a special treaty with Britain, because Britain exports more from EU rather than it sends within the EU. So I think, in my opinion, there will be it's good for the global market. It's good for economy within for the Britain economy, and we'll have more treaties with the different countries now. As far as the pound is concerned, now there is an initial reaction and there is a huge drop in the pound price, but I think it will recover in some time. It's a political phase, and it will recover, but it will take some time, and it's a transition phase that even though people have given a verdict now, it will take some time. So we have a lead period by, I think it is till 2020. So by the time we'll have a couple of 3-4 years, we could negotiate, and I think it will stabilize.
Right. Mr. Agarwal, I would like to ask you that what do you think about the Indian banking and financial system right now? How is it placed in this kind of an event that it is right now? Obviously, we've been facing a lot of problems back home, be it of stressed assets, be it of NPAs, and the government and RBI have been working in tandem to somehow get them out of the blues. But in this whole global context, how do you see the Indian banking and financial system?
I think with Brexit news, Indian market has already come down substantially, and now with more trades happening, and it opens up the huge market for Indian companies to come and invest, and it not only that, for Indians to come and work in this country, because there will be a fair immigration policy which will be adopted, that based on something like Australian point-based system. So more opportunities for Indian companies to invest within the UK. We are already a big trading partner with Britain here, and that will give a boost to Indian economy also in long term. But in short terms, you will see some, as you see some, there will be some jitters, and I think it will recover later on.
You know, you can also ask him indirectly, ki bhai, when can we expect a decision on the governor side?
Right. Thanks very much, Mr. Agarwal, for joining us and explaining to us the whole impact of Brexit. Let's move on and आगे बढ़ते हैं. अब हमारे साथ कुछ दर्शक भी जुड़े हैं फोन लाइन पर, उनसे बातचीत करेंगे. लेकिन अब इसी वक्त हमारे साथ एक और खास मेहमान भी जुड़ते हुए नजर आ रहे हैं. गोपीचंद हिंदुजा, को चेयरमैन ऑफ द हिंदुजा ग्रुप, इज आल्सो जॉइनिंग अस. मिस्टर हिंदुजा, बहुत बहुत स्वागत है जी बिजनेस पर. आपका बहुत शुक्रिया अपना समय हमें देने के लिए. सबसे पहला रिएक्शन आपका जानना चाहेंगे, ये जो हिस्टोरिक इवेंट आज हुआ है ब्रेक्जिट का, इस पर आप किस तरीके का रिएक्शन देख रहे हैं ग्लोबल इंडस्ट्री पर?
You see, in my view, every issue has two sides of the coin. And always, any decision which has to be taken, it has its pros and cons. But here, I really think it's a historic day because the British people verdict has made it very clear that there is a real democracy here. Now, we have to see why Britain joined hands with EU. In 1975, I remember when I first came to London, Ted Heath used to be the Prime Minister of the country. And the view was to see how the economy with Europeans become stronger to match with the Americans and with the Japanese. But with this, what was happening, British had lost their own dependence and their manufacturing, their industry, their trade was falling down. Now, in my view, they will start working harder and they will try to bring their own entity. And whatever is the shortfall from the EU, they will be easily able to make up with India and emerging markets. They have every good possibility, especially on SMEs, where British has the expertise and India is in need of it. That can be an advantage. And moreover, we should not get panic with all what has happened because the London city was expecting in, and outside London, everyone was expecting exit. And the people living in London, which is really a financial center, has felt the effect of it. But in my opinion, it is a short-lived and very soon it will get stabilized. The most important thing is how the transition is taking place. And fortunately, the Prime Minister has already given a verdict that it needs a new leadership, fresh leadership. And in 3 months' time, he said he would like to step down. And with his acumen, I'm sure the transition will go well. Things will settle down. The world will keep on going. It is not that it is going to affect. We have to only watch and see what is going to happen in EU and the other countries in EU, where they will have to be more alert and active.
Sure, Mr. Hinduja, जैसे आपने बताया कि there will be more alert to it. If you can just elaborate on your investment plans or rather an investment plan per se, यहाँ पे आप कैसा देखते हैं? Will you wait for a while and then evaluate the situation and then think over it?
Are you referring to the investment plans of Hinduja Group in Europe, or you are in general asking me a question?
First question was for your investment plan, and the other was the overall industry per se.
Okay, let me tell you. Firstly, Hinduja Group is a very diversified group. And so far we have sustained on two bases. One is conservativeness and consistency in our growth. We have always been diversified. Whether UK would have been in or out, there is no impact on us. We are already in European countries. We are already here, as well as in emerging markets and US. We will, as investors, watch where we have better benefits and accordingly we will go. Even on the currencies, we are dollar-based group. So, I don't see immediately any impact on the group, nor we will have any hesitancy in investing in UK or in Europe because of the policy and the philosophy of the group being diversified.
Right. Mr. Hinduja, we would also want to understand from you, say for example, you already mentioned that your investments will continue. I want to know whether whatever capex plans you have already planned for FY 17 and 18, will they continue as it is? And secondly, because of the change in the Prime Ministership in October onwards, just like how the current Prime Minister, David Cameron, has pointed out that the new leadership will take place. So, do you anticipate any changes in policies, and because of which Hinduja Group will have to, or the other industries will have to change their strategies?
I don't think so. There is any need of changing any strategies, because even if the new Prime Minister comes or the new government comes, it's not going to make any difference. The businessman knows that in each and every environment, how to survive the challenges and become prosperous. If we are following our policy and our philosophies, we have been over 100 years in the business and have always sustained and have been seeing all these things, ups and downs many a times, and one manages it. Businessman's acumen should be to face all the challenges. Nothing has happened that we should get so panicky what immediately the Sensex and FTSE and our Indian stock market has done. After all, the 52% shares, votes which have been given, there is some positiveness in them. They have thought something also. It can't be that they have been naive.
Right, right. Mr. Hinduja, आपसे ये भी जानना चाहेंगे, somewhere that you have, obviously your group company Ashok Leyland is also present in the European Union. I want to know what are the future prospects over here. Will the exports also get hit at some point of time? Because all the analysts are expecting that somewhere Indian auto industry may have to have some kind of dent on the exports.
I really don't feel, because on exports, Ashok Leyland is mainly now focusing on SAARC and African countries. We didn't had any exports in Europe. So how is it going to have any effect on our exports?
Right. What about oil and gas space, sir? Do you think that in the last few years, we've seen that the crude oil prices have provided some kind of cushion to the Indian markets? What do you see? Today, we've seen about a 4% dip. Going forward, what is the kind of trajectory of crude oil do you anticipate? And will that cushion also be provided in the coming years for Indian markets?
Definitely. I think the crude oil will take a further hit, in my view. And it will be in the interest of India. They will have a better cushion, because this uncertainty which has come in will further bring the oil prices down. That's my view.
Sure, Mr. Hinduja, हम बात कर रहे हैं इंडियन इकोनॉमी के बारे में, एंड डू यू थिंक सो इंडियन डोमेस्टिक मैक्रोस आर सो स्ट्रॉन्ग, या इफ यू कैन जस्ट इलॉबरेट ऑन दैट, कि इट doesn't need to bother about the event which has happened, global event which has happened now, or if you have a different idea about it?
Let me tell you, so far as India is concerned, they will keep on doing their trade and investments with Europe as they were doing. On the contrary, there is an additional benefit, because UK will start focusing more on emerging markets, and for them, India will be the main market to see what best they can do. As I earlier said, in SME sector, they will do more, and all the expertises what they have, there are excellent synergies. I just had yesterday 2-3 very important meetings, and I could see the focus of all the big majors also is on India. We have to get prepared ourselves in India to accept them and be fast in implementation on the objectives and ideas of the Prime Minister's what he is giving. They are all good, but the implementation has to find its root in India.
Right. Mr. Hinduja, we would want to understand from you, now that Brexit has happened and Britain is the first country to exit from European Union, do you think the other countries will follow suit? We have a whole list of Sweden, Denmark, Netherlands. They've all been in the row for asking about independence. So do you think this will also start following suit?
You see, these are all possibilities because with Britain, EU had a strength. And with Britain coming out of EU, naturally their strength will be reduced. So they will have to work out, each and every country will work out their pros and cons and see what is happening. Now that is a thing which I think really we will have to watch and see and analyze it properly, on which I have not given a proper thought, but in general I can tell you the strength of EU will be reduced by UK not being in it.